Next, questions about interviews. And firstly, what are they like? Interviews are much feared and often misunderstood things. The purpose of an interview is to recreate the conditions of a tutorial or a supervision in Cambridge to see how a candidate performs. And they form such an important part of the selection process because much of the teaching done at the universities is done under the same conditions, and tutors want to choose students who will get the most out of that system. As such, interviews take the form of a 10 to 30-minute discussion with an academic about your subject. And some tutorials are done by one academic, some by two, and others still by panels of academics and other officials. Both universities realise that candidates are scared of interviews, and so you are made to feel as comfortable as you can be under the circumstances. It's also worth stating that the tutors are not there to take you apart or to be aggressive. They want to see you do well. As one of my tutors said to me once, the purpose of an interview isn't to find out what you don't know. That would be way too easy. What it is to find out what you do know and to find out how you think. They are trying to coax out of you how you approach and solve problems, and they want to see you do well. They are looking for knowledge of your subject, but they're also looking for problem solving and independent thought. For more official information about interviews, you can check out this link for Oxford and this link for Cambridge. Secondly, do I need to submit work for my interviews? Some subjects will require you to do an aptitude test, typically in October or November before the interview season in December, while other subjects will require you to submit written work for your interviews. Needless to say, this varies substantially from subject to subject, and so check out the department page for your subject for more information about this. Note that some subjects won't require you to do either, and so you won't have to do an aptitude test or submit work. Thirdly, how many interviews will I have to do? Now, this varies a lot from subject to subject and from person to person. Personally, I did 4 interviews at Oxford. I did 3 at the college that I applied to and 1 at a college that was allocated to me when I arrived, and these all took place over 3 days. Now, this is a relatively common number of interviews, and it's also very common, at least for Oxford, to be allocated an additional college when you arrive. This is done to make sure that a relatively even number of applicants are interviewed across the whole university. Now, some interviewees were asked to stay back for additional interviews after their original number were done, and I wasn't. But this is, again, relatively common and not something to worry about. It can be done for any number of reasons and doesn't necessarily say anything about your application. So don't sweat it if this happens to you. A good ballpark estimate is that you do anything between 2 and 6 interviews, though most people will be at the lower end of that range. For more information about a particular subject's interviews at a particular college, contact that college directly. Fourthly, how can I best prepare for my interviews? The best way to think about an interview is a chance to have a short conversation with leading academics in a field that you are passionately interested in. And so the best way to prepare for that conversation is to make sure you're up to date on any topics that might come up and that you're able to clearly articulate your opinions and ideas. If you get the chance to have a practice interview, then take it. It may not be the most realistic recreation of the conditions of an interview, but any practice at verbally responding to questions in your field is great practice. In fact, getting into the habit of talking out loud your thought process while answering questions is a fantastic habit to get into. Remember that tutors aren't interested necessarily in you getting to the right answer, if one even exists. They're interested in how you arrived at your answer. So practice talking through your thought process and allow them to know how you think. Also, as far as is possible, try to relax before going into your interview. Nobody does well when they're stressed and scared. So before you go in, try and get yourself into a calm and happy space. Though this is easier said than done, I realise. Lastly, if you'd like to see how a typical interview goes, you can find several good examples on YouTube. Even if the interview isn't in your subject, it gives you a general idea of how the interview will proceed. For a good example, you can check out this computer science interview from Cambridge by Jake Wright.